Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Wired for Wellbeing podcast, where each week we explore how understanding your nervous system can transform the way you live, love, and relate. We look at how our nervous system holds the key to moving through some of the challenges we all face. Now, I want to start right off by introducing my friend and the esteemed Dr. Jeffrey Rutstein. Jeffrey, how are you today?
I'm great, Steve. How are you?
I'm doing really well, thank you. You know, Jeffrey, there's been a theme that as I've sat and recorded these with you and edited the episodes and re-listened to the episodes after they're posted, there's been a theme that I've noticed, and I know you've noticed it because this has been your professional career, that there's this really strong desire in people who know something is different, but can't make the change. So that's what I thought we'd talk about today. And we're going to jump into that in just a second. And maybe before we get into that, I want to let people know that if this nervous system work is newer to you, we've recorded an episode. I'm forgetting the name. Oh yeah, what's controlling you without you knowing it? If you want to get an understanding of sort of some of the base theory behind some of this work, that's a great episode to go check out. You know, Jeffrey, as we dive into this, I'm also aware that our flagship program kicks off now, essentially. So I'm going to maybe toss it to you and you can give us a little bit of an understanding of that flagship program. And then we're just going to dive right into our topic today about how this desire to change always seems to be elusive for people.
So the flagship program that Steve is talking about is the one that I created in partnership with Sounds True, this 9-month transformative journey called the Healing Trauma Program. And it's really a very deep embodied learning dive into taking on the perspective of a nervous system viewpoint, but actually to be able to utilize that viewpoint in the way that you interact with your nervous system and your life moment by moment. It really is a way of transforming how you feel in your own body, but how you feel living your life. It can move from a feeling of constant struggle, constant stuckness, to a place where you feel you have both room to breathe and room to grow. So if you're interested, go to drjeffreyrutstein.com/links, and there you'll find a link that will take you directly to the Healing Trauma Program, and registration is only open for 1 more week. Back to you, Steve.
Thanks, Jeffrey. Well, let's jump right into this theme that there's this desire intellectually that we all know what we need to do. We all know that not maybe all. Maybe I'm being too broad. Many of us are aware of what's going on, and we conceptually know that I should stop doing fill in the blank. We can't. Help us.
That's probably one of the biggest things that actually was a deep question for me as a therapist. When I was working with trauma patients, and a somatic approach helped, right? It really did help. But there was something even with that of something that individuals, particularly with trauma histories, needed to gain for themselves. But that opened up my understanding to see that truly this is a point that I think everybody needs to understand a bit or see, is that we believe we're rational beings and that I should make my mind up and set sail for how I'm going to live my day. I'm going to be happy, polite, on time, very efficient, eat a healthy lunch, all these things, right? I'm not going to lose my cool. And then perhaps within 5 minutes of starting out on our journey, we're cursing at the person in front of us who cut into us without signaling their intent ahead of time. We forgot our healthy lunch at home and we're cursing then too. And then we're angry that a meeting got canceled. And all of a sudden we're taken over by this storm of anger, resentment, frustration, feeling discouraged, feeling flattened. And we don't know what hit us. It feels like our day was ruined. And so another incident that people often encounter is we all know a lot about how to eat healthfully, right? Or how to take care of our bodies, the kind of exercise that might be good to maintain and increase well-being. And yet, many of us, while we know much better, don't do it, right? And some people will say, oh, well, I'm lazy, or I can't stick to things. And they're sort of blaming themselves for it. But even that is missing the mark, right? What happens is there's a difference between what we intend to do and how our nervous system unconsciously, behind the scenes, continually takes priority and directs or redirects our attention and our nervous system response moment to moment during the day, depending upon what our nervous system is picking up as being called for. And that's a separate system from, I want to make sure I get home in time to watch this show. Remember those days when you had to get home to watch a show? And so we're planning that, but your nervous system may have other plans, like it's going to freak out, or it's going to have too much of a hard time finishing up this assignment to get on the train to get home in time, or whatever it is. We find ourselves not following our plans, not following what we want for us or what we can know is better for us or best for us.
Now, Jeffrey, I find it's an interesting time of year actually to also have this conversation because we're recording this right at the end of December. And this will release at the end of January. So we're all about those who care about these types of things and doing these types of things. We're about to enter a period of goal setting that seems natural at the beginning of the year. And most likely, I'll set my goals and then I'm going to listen to this episode. I'm going to feel like crap. Because all of those goals made it a week and a half. Is the same thing?
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Again, it's like, sometimes our goals are also unrealistic. Like, I will shed 95 pounds, be able to run a marathon under 2 hours, and be able to lift 100,000 pounds in one sitting. Yeah, okay, good luck with that. No one's going to make that. But so many of us do, with best intentions, try to have, this year I'm going to cut back on sugar. This year I'm going to take a meditation course or a knitting course, or I'm going to do something that's going to spend some time out in nature. Our intentions are to really want to do these things. But again, and this is what most people don't quite get, is that the nervous system runs the show. And the nervous system is responsible for everything, including whether we have the energy and the ability to follow through or not. So what can happen for some people is that ideas about self-care, I'm going to take care of myself. I'm going to learn a new skill this year. I'm going to build something on my property. I'm going to do something, right? Whatever it is, we have these desires, these goals, these aspirations. If we're allowed, if our nervous system feels safe getting things, achieving things, owning things, then usually there's not much of a problem. But if our nervous system is also conflicted about how happy you're allowed to be, because it may be that if your family was very unhappy, there was a ceiling on how much happiness anyone in the family could have. And if you're bumping up against that ceiling, your nervous system is going to find a way to try to discourage you from going any higher than that ceiling. You shouldn't be that high. You shouldn't be that happy. You should be a little less happy than they are. At most, as happy, but you can't be more happy. Now, this is not what our minds are going to think, but our nervous system senses these ideas of these invisible attachments or connections or obligations, a lot that's set up in our family.
I'm imagining from spending time with you and your work that on some level, the nervous system is trying to keep us safe from something.
Yes.
Which is, I'm guessing, why we don't follow through when we know, like, I know this person triggers me. I'm going to try to speak to them a certain way and not get upset. And then the conversation happens and you're fuming.
Right.
Can we unpack maybe what like the nervous system and body are doing and what the brain is doing? Because I think it relates back to like we intellectually know. I know that I shouldn't be a jerk to this person. It's not my goal. It's not what I want. But 20 minutes into the conversation, I've turned into someone I don't want to be.
Right. So this is also a parallel with this is something that many people have noticed from some types of talk therapy, right? Which is that they can have tremendous insight about understanding their family history, their family dynamics, what makes them tick, why they may have these kinds of issues or fears or triggers for anger. But insight alone, for most people, is not enough to alter our nervous driven reaction responses, right? Um, Understanding our narrative, understanding is a top down process. It's using the most recent parts of the brain, the neocortex, the thing that looks like cauliflower on the top of your head, and all the advancements in thinking, reasoning, planning, and logic that have been able to flourish because of this part of our brain. And while that's helpful, very helpful, right? Insight alone isn't what drives behavior. Matter of fact, I don't know if I've told this story before, but I had, as a kid, wanted to join my friends swimming in the ocean and was scared to death of going in the ocean, and worked on it and worked on it and did some self-hypnosis and was reading these books on phobias and was psyching myself up to do this. And each time I go to the beach, this is going to be the day. I'm going to go in, I'm going to go in, I'm going to join my friends. And I get there, get to the point where the water was touching my feet. And all of a sudden, the guy who was so ready to go in has left town. And I'm just left there looking out at the ocean with, I don't want to die. I don't want to die. This is not a good day to die. And at that point in time, I was only in touch with this base fear, this really basic fear that was making it imperative to me that if I went in, there was a good likelihood I wouldn't come out. That's not necessarily real, but it was what my mind was telling me, right? And that's really the nugget in this, right? Is that the part of us that gets insight is not the part of us that follows through at 5 o'clock in the morning to get up and go for a run before work, or start to make a healthier meal for the day, or start to do our meditation practice or our artwork or whatever it is, right? What gets us up is the ability to have enough of a nervous system feeling safe enough on board to engage in these things. And any approach that just depends on insight, like I know what to do, I just have to do it, you're still going to find sometimes that you're stuck, and it's not your fault. It's people will almost always immediately surmise that this is laziness. I'm not doing this because I have no character. I have no follow through. This is a problem with mine. Instead of something came up that shifted you out of a state of being able to can do something and shifted you into a state where you can't do this. And the real work can be exploring what's happening that's holding you back to get free from that. It's not more insight. It's understanding actually what's happening in the body that's locking it up, that's causing a contraction emotionally or cognitively or physically or all three, that get you to stop in your tracks or not know how to go. So you wander around and around in a circle, but you feel like you can't make progress, right? So a lot of people can think about things, have great plans for things, want to do things, know that they're good to do, and then feel frustrated and demoralized that something keeps stopping them from doing it. Or they may feel like it's not so much stopped, they just don't get around to doing it.
I have two things I want to touch on here, and potentially they're related. First, I'll share both questions first, and then we can figure out what we do with them. The first is it helpful to know like what an insight is and what it's born of, and why we have it, or not? So that's the first question. And the second question is how do we shift to body based learning? How do we move from knowing what we should do with our finances to actually making choices that support our finances?
So this is the place that's a little bit of harder work, right? Is we're so good, all of us are so good at avoiding things. I mean, it's just wired in. If it's unpleasant or a bit threatening, many of us have the skill to push it away. Or we may be totally enveloped in thinking about it, looping about it incessantly, but not being able to do anything. And either way, action is stopped. So the easiest path for many people is just to turn and blame themselves. But again, that's not giving you any clarity in what can happen and what can be done. So main message here is you're not broken if this is happening. This is what happens in all humans, right? And that the things that cause our nervous system, based on its particular experiences, life experiences, family experiences, cultural experiences, about what may be safe or comfortable for you to want or to embody, that really plays a pretty big role in why we don't follow through with many, many, many things. But we have to be willing to, number one, get curious. That means really not knowing, but holding a space of, I wonder what this is. Gee, I wonder why every night I set my alarm, I'm going to get up and I'm going to do this practice in the morning, or read my book in the morning, or whatever it is. And I keep shutting the alarm off, not getting up, and always finding a way to still get up in time to go to work and do my usual routine, but never enough time for me to actually move the needle forward on taking care of myself, on learning something I want to learn, or having a deeper engagement with my life. And really, that's going to be driven almost solely by how our nervous system takes on its duty to protect you. And protecting you, of course, is primarily from literal physical danger, like death, but it's also to protect you from things that could be perceived as danger, like emotional or physical pain. So even something like being embarrassed or ashamed is a kind of pain that our nervous system will work really effortfully to help us avoid or turn away from.
What's the relationship here to procrastination?
So procrastination is another side of the coin when we're afraid to make a decision that's a little bit different with this. Procrastination is something that we see when there's a combination of anxiety and overwhelm about completing a project or doing something or beginning something. And we make plans for it, but we never get to the action stage, putting it off until, well, I want to start on a Monday. I want to start when I have all the equipment. I want to start when I'm already feeling better. I want to start when the holidays are over. We're finding ways to put off something that we don't quite feel ready to approach now. But again, if we can see that we're procrastinating, we can also ask, why are we kicking the can down the road?
In the example you shared about, sleeping in and hitting the snooze alarm and becoming curious and asking what's going on here? I could see very clear examples of me asking myself that and having no idea what's going on there.
Okay.
So how do we begin to uncover that wisdom, that information, that knowledge, that becoming curious about something starts to uncover for us?
So it's a little bit more complex, but I think it's worthwhile for us to go down and get a little bit more granular about this. So it could be as simple as that your body's nervous system, your circadian rhythm is such that, for example, Steve, you're not meant to wake up at 5:30.
I'm not,
Okay.
by the way.
Right. Okay. And so when you set the alarm, your body's naturally going to be in that collapsed and shut down place. When we're really tired, our body hasn't decided it's seen light yet, therefore it's not really open for business. And so it may be that resistance to starting anything is just because your body doesn't have the wherewithal at that time of day. But if you scheduled it, say, at noon or at 5 p.m. or at 7 p.m., you might find that there's much less resistance to it just in falling in line with where your nervous system finds its best capacity. For example, I do my best heavy mental work in the morning. I do creative work later in the day, but stuff that I have to be very analytical about and focused about, I need to do earlier in the day. I can't do that much past like 2 in the afternoon for me. It just, my brain doesn't work that way. But I can do creative things later up to a point because it requires a different level of focus. So part of this is also just finding when it can fit into our natural rhythm where we can work better or cooperate better. The other thing is, if you're laying there, you take a moment or two, and again, this is kind of the same steps that everyone is invited to practice. The first thing is just noticing that you have a body and coming back to it, putting one or two hands on the body itself, letting yourself take a moment to linger with contact, and finding the places where your body meets the surface that's supporting it. And just in allowing your awareness to linger at the points of contact of your hands on your chest and where your body meets the surface that's supporting you, you're already gently moving towards regulation. And when you do that, then we have more capacity to be curious and access things. All right. So in the morning, it might not be too hard to regulate because I may be still kind of tired. So I'd come in a little bit, touch into the body and my breath, and then wonder about, like, so what is it about this program or this thing, whatever this thing is that I was going to get up for, that I'm resisting? Is it the time? Is it the project? And then you just see what comes up. You don't try to think your way there. This is more about trying to follow the path of what your body begins to say back. And again, this is helpful to also work with a somatic therapist or someone who's trained in following the body around these things, because that'll help you track a little bit better. But the idea is that once you get a little more regulated and you ask something from curiosity and you just pause, you pause to see what arises. You may begin to get some images, some feelings, some memories about, oh, competition. I don't like competition. Or um, I've done so many fitness plans in the past and I've always failed them. Why do one more? Or why get up early to try out for this position because I know then they're not going to give it to me anyways. We we can become a little bit more open to the more subtle currents behind what our mind is saying, but I want to do this. Picking up what the body is saying in terms of, does the body want to do this? Is the body backing you? Or in essence, is your body stopping you?
Yeah, we've I think backed into where I wanted to go of making sure we're leaving people with some how-to steps when they notice the things, the insights that they have and the awareness they have to do or not do something gets overridden. I wanted to make sure we left people with a few tools to start to check in and inquire. Are there, I guess, just opening the opportunity to describe that process a little bit more, or just tie up any loose ends around that process, leave people with something they can try or do or explore.
So when we're first confronted with, I wanted to do this, but I can't, right? We're going to usually have a moment of upset, anger, maybe despair and disillusionment, depending upon how much of a struggle it's been for us. And so that's going to wobble our regulation for a few minutes at the very least. We're going to be upset, disappointed. If we can notice that and then remember that we'll be best able to work with this if we first come back towards regulation. And coming back towards regulation means that we unhook from our preoccupation with thinking and redirect our awareness to neutral and present body sensation. So that's why we start with, say, the points of contact that your body makes sitting in this very chair. And if you want to focus that a little bit more, you can focus on how your sit bones make contact with the seat. And if you're a little bit upset, angry, in fight or flight, engaging the long, slow out breath where you're exhaling for about twice as long as you're inhaling for. Directing your awareness into points of contact and following or creating the long out breath for 5 or 10 breaths will do a lot towards helping you move very easily towards regulation. And that's where you can actually become much more powerful with curiosity, because you're aware of a voice, a desire, a longing in you to do X, whatever it is, to say something, to do something, to begin something, to stop something, to make a boundary. And then you're also aware that something arises that somehow you don't end up doing what you had wanted or felt was important to do. So the idea is you're not broken with this. This is a normal nervous system process, and our power really comes in when we begin to turn towards it with our awareness and learn how to work with this. And one of the ways is through the body. If you learn how to speak to your nervous system by helping it, giving it the signals that calm it down, that regulate it, like a hand or two on the heart tells the body you're safe. The long exhale tells your nervous system you're safe. And when your body feels safe, it's not in this struggle. It's not in this either fight or flight activation or this shutdown and collapse mode. You're actually in a place where you can think about a behavior and do it, instead of wanting to do something and find you just don't get it done.
So I want to invite people who, again, might be new to this work. If you're at this point in the podcast here today and this is intriguing you, go check out an episode we have. It's called What's Controlling You Without You Knowing It. It gives a lot more background on the theory and the science, kind of what's going on behind the scenes, just to help fill in maybe some of the blanks that may have been created for you today in this. Jeffrey, any closing thoughts? And then maybe you can let people know how to do the other thing we do, which is send questions in. That's kind of another thing we've done, and we're trying something a little bit new here the past couple of weeks. But anyway, closing thoughts, and how can people get in touch with us?
Sure. So number one, insight is helpful. It's not bad. Insight is helpful. But if we expect ourselves to be able to change ourselves or patterns in life based on insight alone, that's a tall order and almost certainly will not succeed unless your nervous system happens to luckily already be on board with whatever your plans are. So if you find yourself stuck in this, you're not wrong. There really is a way to work with this. There's a way to find freedom, actual freedom in your life, instead of feeling like you get stuck in the same cul-de-sacs going around and around.
Yeah, cul-de-sacs. Well, if someone has a question about how to get out of their cul-de-sac, Jeffrey, what can they do?
Well, if you'd like to, you can send a question to us by dialing 866-357-5156. Or if you can't reach that exchange from an international number, feel free to email an audio file to, or just a plain email to, hello@drjeffreyrutstein.com. Steve, thank you as always for joining us today.
Thank you. And we teased the program several times, Jeffrey, so maybe you can let people know where to click or where to find out that information.
Right. So again, our flagship program, the Healing Trauma Program with Sounds True, registration is only open for the next week. If you're interested, you can go to drjeffreyrutstein.com/links, and there'll be a link that will take you there directly to the page for the Healing Trauma Program.
Great, thanks. I want to remind everybody that this podcast is for informational purposes only and isn't a substitute for professional, mental, physical healthcare. So if you're struggling, please reach out to a qualified healthcare professional. Jeffrey, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you all of us for joining us. Bye for now.